He hadn't planned on being a hero that night. He was just tired. Tired in the way that settles deep in your bones after a double shift. Tired in the way single parents are tired, not just physically but financially. Emotionally, spiritually. The kind of tired that doesn't disappear with sleep. The wind cut through downtown Chicago like a blade, sharp and unforgiving. It was close to midnight when Hill locked the service closet on the 32nd floor of the towering glass building he cleaned 5 nights a week. His reflection in the polished window looked older than 34. His uniform smelled faintly of bleach and lemon disinfectant. His hands were rough, cracked from chemicals and winter air. In his wallet sat exactly $20. It was the last bill he had until Friday. That 20 was supposed to buy gas for his aging Honda and milk, eggs and cereal for his 6-year-old son, Caleb. Caleb loved chocolate cereal, Marcus had promised. He stepped out into the icy air, collar pulled high, breath fogging in front of him. The city hummed around him, sirens in the distance. Traffic lights blinking red and green, skyscrapers glowing like giants that never slept. That's when he saw her. She sat on the curb near the bus stop, coat too thin for the weather, heels kicked off beside her. Her hair, once carefully styled, now clung messily to her cheeks. She wasn't crying loudly. It was quieter than that. The kind of crying you do when you're trying not to fall apart in public. Marcus slowed. He knew that kind of crying. He'd heard it in the bathroom the night his wife left. He'd heard it in his own chest when the hospital bills came. He'd heard it when Caleb asked why Mommy didn't come to his school play. He could keep walking. He should keep walking. $20 wasn't much, but it was everything tonight. Still, something tugged at him. "You okay, ma'am?" he asked gently, keeping a respectful distance. She startled, quickly wiping her face. Up close, she didn't look homeless. Her coat was designer, though wrinkled. Her watch looked expensive. But right now she looked lost. "My phone died," she said, voice trembling. "My car service canceled. She swallowed. "I left my wallet at the office. I don't even have money for a cab." Marcus glanced at the empty street. It would be easy to assume she was lying. The city was full of stories. But there was something in her eyes, frustration mixed with humiliation, that felt real. "I just need to get to the Westin on Wacker," she added quietly. "I can pay you back. I promise." The Westin, that was across town. Marcus felt the $20 bill in his wallet like it was burning through leather. Gas, groceries, Caleb's cereal. He pictured his son's smile, gap-toothed and bright. He pictured the almost empty fridge. Then he looked at her again. He remembered what his mother used to say back in Detroit. "Son, you never know when God is testing your heart." He exhaled slowly. "It's not much," he said, pulling the bill from his wallet. "But it'll get you a ride." "Don't worry about paying me back." Her eyes widened. "I can't take your last—" "It's fine," he cut in gently, though it wasn't fine. "We've all been stuck before." For a moment, she just stared at him like she didn't know what to do with kindness. "Thank you," she whispered. He nodded, embarrassed by the intensity in her gaze. "Get home safe." He walked away before she could say more. The wind felt colder now. His wallet felt lighter. His stomach twisted with doubt. By the time he reached his car, anxiety had settled in. Maybe he'd been foolish. Maybe he'd have to tell Caleb they'd eat toast instead of cereal. He started the engine and watched the fuel gauge hover dangerously close to empty. "God, I hope I didn't mess this up," he murmured. The next morning, Marcus was back in the building at 6 a.m. for a special weekend deep clean. Corporate was hosting some big executive meeting. Extra pressure, extra polish. He worked silently, buffing marble floors until they reflected the ceiling lights like mirrors. He cleaned conference rooms he'd never sat in. He emptied trash cans from offices larger than his entire apartment. Around 9 a.m., a black SUV pulled up outside the glass entrance. Marcus barely noticed, until he heard the murmurs. Employees, real employees, the kind with badges and corner offices, were lining up near the lobby. The building manager, Mr. Dawson, stood stiff as a board, smoothing his tie repeatedly. "Everyone look sharp," Dawson hissed. "She's here." "She?" Marcus continued, wiping down a handrail. Then the elevator doors opened, and his heart stopped. It was her, the woman from the curb. Except she didn't look lost now. Her hair was perfectly styled. her coat replaced with a tailored navy suit. Diamond studs sparkled at her ears. Confidence radiated from her posture like sunlight. The entire room shifted around her. "Good morning, Ms. Langford," Dawson said, nearly bowing. "Ms. Langford." Marcus blinked. The name clicked. Elena Langford, the reclusive majority owner of Langford Industries, the company whose name gleamed in silver letters on the front of the building, the company he cleaned every night. She walked forward, poised, powerful, and then her eyes found his. For a split second, the corporate mask cracked. Recognition flashed. Surprise. Then something deeper. She turned to Mr. Dawson. "Before the meeting," she said calmly, "I'd like a moment with him." Her finger pointed directly at Marcus. The lobby fell silent. Marcus felt heat crawl up his neck. "Me?" "Yes," she said, stepping closer. "You." They moved to a quiet corner near the windows overlooking the river. Up close, her eyes were the same as last night, just steadier. "You didn't recognize me," she said softly. "No, ma'am," he admitted. "Didn't think I would?" A small smile tugged at her lips. "Most people would have." He shrugged. "You looked like someone who needed help. That's all I saw." She studied him carefully. "Do you know how many people walked past me last night?" He shook his head. "Dozens. Some stared. Some avoided eye contact. You were the only one who stopped." He felt awkward under her gaze. Anyone would have done the same. She tilted her head. "No, they wouldn't have." There was a pause. "Why did you give me that money?" she asked. He hesitated. Pride warred with honesty. "Because I know what it feels like to have nothing," he said finally. "And because my son's watching the kind of man I become." Her expression shifted. Something almost like emotion flickering beneath control. "You have a son?" "Caleb. 6. Loves chocolate cereal," he added, surprising himself. She let out a soft laugh. Then her face grew serious. "Marcus," she said, and hearing his name in her voice felt unreal. "Do you know why I was outside last night?" He shook his head again. "I had just fired a senior executive," she said. "He'd been falsifying safety reports for one of our facilities. It would have increased profits but endangered workers. He told me I was too emotional to run a company this size. That kindness was weakness." Her jaw tightened. "I walked out to clear my head. And then my phone died. My driver had already left. For the first time in years, I was alone and unsure." Marcus listened quietly. "You gave away your last $20, she continued. "Without knowing who I was. Without expecting anything." He shifted. "Didn't seem right not to help." She looked at him for a long moment. "Kindness," she said softly, "is not weakness." Before he could respond, Mr. Dawson approached nervously. "Ms. Langford, the board is waiting." She nodded but didn't move. "Cancel the first agenda item," she said smoothly. "We're adding something." 20 minutes later, Marcus stood, hands shaking, in a conference room he'd only ever vacuumed. Board members sat around a polished table worth more than his annual salary. Elena stood at the head. "This company," she began, "was built on values. Somewhere along the way, we started measuring success only in numbers." Her gaze flicked to Marcus. "Last night I was reminded what true leadership looks like." She told them the story. Every detail. The curb, the cold, the $20. Silence filled the room when she finished. "Marcus Hill has worked in this building for 3 years, she continued. "Flawless record. Never late, never complained." Marcus's throat tightened. "As of today," she said, "we are creating a new role, Director of Facilities and Employee Culture. It will oversee maintenance operations and implement community outreach initiatives across all Langford properties." She looked directly at him. "I would like Marcus to fill that position." The room erupted in whispers. Marcus felt dizzy. "Ma'am, I'm not qualified." Elena smiled gently. "You're exactly qualified." Tears burned unexpectedly behind his eyes. "I don't have a degree," he said weakly. "You have integrity," she replied. "I can hire people to teach systems." "I can't teach heart." The board slowly began to nod. Mr. Dawson looked stunned. "And," Elena added, "effective immediately. We are launching a hardship fund for all hourly employees. So no one working for this company ever has to choose between gas and groceries again." Marcus couldn't breathe. Later that evening, he walked into his apartment holding 2 grocery bags. Caleb ran to him. "Daddy!" Marcus scooped him up, laughing through tears. "What's this?" Caleb asked, peeking into the bags. "Chocolate cereal," Marcus said, voice thick. "And something else." "What?" "A reminder," Marcus whispered, hugging him tight. "That being kind always matters." Across the city, Elena stood by her office window, looking out at the skyline. The world measured power in wealth, in titles, in corner offices. But she had learned something different on a cold Chicago curb. Sometimes the strongest people are the ones who give their last $20 when no one is watching. And sometimes the smallest acts of humanity change everything.